StudyIQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल.
Hello everyone. I hope this message finds you fit and fine. My name is Shashank Sir. Welcome to our Lakshmikant series contest. We are continuing our Parliament chapter, and within that today we need to talk about legislative procedure. It means you have to turn a bill into an act. Now what is the step-by-step process? This is called legislative procedure. First you need to introduce that bill, right? Then it needs to be published in Gazette. Gazette is like an official newspaper of government in which government publishes bills, act, notices. Now, here's a question for you. You need to search and tell me in the comment which ministry at the union level is responsible for publishing Gazette and which department within that ministry. UPSC play on these facts, okay? Second, then we go to first reading. So what is first reading? We are going to talk in detail as well. Then comes select committee, means this bill is referred to a committee. Then second reading, then third reading, then bill in the other house. So in the other house as well, we are going to have these three readings, and then president assent, and then it turns into a law. Now, one question must be coming in your mind. Sir, what is this first, second, and third reading? What happens there? And why we are actually reading a bill 3 times? कई बार मन में सवाल आता होगा कि इस प्रिपरेशन को शुरू तो कर दिया है, मजा भी आ रहा है, तभी आप इस वीडियो में हैं, सीखने को तो मिल रहा है, लेकिन क्या उतना पढ़ा जा रहा है जितना इस एग्जाम को क्लियर करने के लिए जरूरी है? क्योंकि अल्टीमेट ऑब्जेक्टिव तो क्या है? योर नेम इन मेरिट लिस्ट. तो देखिए, कंटेंट तो सेम है, लेकिन कंटेंट को यूज करने की हमें स्किल डेवलप करनी है. कैसे होगी वो स्किल डेवलप? पहले तो भाई टाइम से हर एक सब्जेक्ट का कंटेंट तैयार होना चाहिए. अगर आप वो कर रहे हैं ठीक है, लेकिन इफ यू वांट टू टेक हेल्प तो आप स्टडी आईक्यू की हेल्प ले सकते हैं. जो स्टडी आईक्यू का P2I प्रोग्राम है, आप स्टडी आईक्यू ऐप या वेबसाइट पर देख सकते हैं. P2I मतलब प्रीलिम्स से लेकर इंटरव्यू तक का एक प्रोग्राम. तो ये एक प्रोग्राम के अंदर 4 फेजेस हैं. तो उस 4 फेजेस के थ्रू पहले ही फेज में आपका कंप्लीट सिलेबस हो जाएगा. तो इट इज लाइक द बेसिक थिंग, ये तो करना ही है. इसके बाद आता है कि हमें स्किल्स डेवलप करनी है, यानी कि उस कंटेंट का प्रीलिम्स में इस्तेमाल हो सके, उस कंटेंट का मेंस में इस्तेमाल हो सके, यानी कि आंसर राइटिंग. फिर हमें असेसमेंट चाहिए बीच बीच में, जिससे कि हमें कमियां पता लगती रहें. तो इसके लिए भी P2I में आपको प्रीलिम्स मेंस दोनों की टेस्ट सीरीज दी जा रही है. वीकेंड पर भी टेस्ट होते हैं, प्लस डेली मेंस आंसर राइटिंग होती है. तो आपको नहीं लगता अगर इतना कोई मेहनत आपके साथ कर ले तो आप करना तो चाहते हैं, बट एक पाथवे नहीं है, तो P2I प्रोग्राम वो पाथवे आपके लिए साबित हो सकता है. तो टेक हेल्प ऑफ दिस. फिर आपके मन में कभी कभी जो डाउट आता है उसको ढूंढने के लिए आपका काफी समय जाया हो जाता है. जाया इसलिए कह रहा हूं क्योंकि हो सकता है उस डाउट को ढूंढने के लिए आपने 1 घंटा लगा दिया, क्योंकि उससे एसोसिएटेड काफी सारी चीजें नई नई पता लगती चली गई आपको. ऐसे में इस टाइम को रिड्यूस कर सकते हैं आप. एग्जाम ओरिएंटेड क्या उस डाउट से रिलेटेड नॉलेज आपको चाहिए, वो आपको एक पर्सनल मेंटोर बता सकता है. तो इस कोर्स में फैकल्टीज तो आपके साथ हैं ही. इस पूरी जर्नी में आपको पर्सनल मेंटोर दिया जा रहा है, आप उसकी हेल्प लीजिए. आप कॉल व्हाट्सएप पर कभी भी उनके साथ कनेक्ट हो सकते हैं. उनका नंबर आपको इस कोर्स में स्पेसिफिकली आपको अलॉट होगा. तो अल्टीमेटली आपका टाइम बचेगा, कॉन्फिडेंस आएगा प्रिपरेशन में. फिर जैसे आप प्रीलिम्स क्लियर कर लेते हैं तो उसके बाद मेंस रेजिडेंशियल प्रोग्राम, ये इसका सेकंड फेज मतलब थर्ड फेज कहिए, क्योंकि पहले फेज में फाउंडेशन है, फिर सक्सेस इन प्रीलिम्स है, फिर MRP मेंस रेजिडेंशियल प्रोग्राम. फिर उसके लिए आप दिल्ली बुला लिया जाता है आपको. यहाँ पर आप मतलब जो फूडिंग, लॉजिंग, एवरीथिंग इज टेकन केयर बाय स्टडी आईक्यू. और उसके बाद फिर रिगरस प्रिपरेशन होती है आपकी मेंस के हिसाब से, यानी कि हर एक जो आपका पेपर है, GS है, लैंग्वेज है, essay है, हर एक की तैयारी यहीं पर हम आपको अपने सामने कराते हैं. उसके बाद जैसे आप मेंस क्लियर करते हैं तो इंटरव्यू गाइडेंस प्रोग्राम, वहाँ पर आपके कोहोर्ट्स बनते हैं, जिसमें डिस्कशन के थ्रू जो आपके अदर एस्पिरेंट्स हैं, जो आपके साथ इंटरव्यू देने वाले हैं, तो आप अपनी स्किल्स को पॉलिश करते हैं. साथ में ब्यूरोक्रेट्स, फॉर्मर टॉपर्स, ये सब फैकल्टीज आपको मिलकर गाइड करते हैं. फाइनली व्हेन यू आर थ्रू इनटू द मेरिट लिस्ट, देन फिर आपको लगता है कि हाँ, इट वाज ऑल वर्थ इट. मिलते हैं आपसे क्लासेस में. ख्याल रखिए. जय हिंद. So let's understand in step-by-step manner. Introduction. So bill is introduced in Parliament. So in which house that bill is going to be introduced, it also depends on the nature of bill. Okay, for that we need to understand type of bill. One criteria of categorizing is on the basis of who is presenting that bill. Who is presenting or introducing that bill? On this basis, we categorize it into two parts. One is private bill, second is public bill. Public bill means a minister is actually bringing this bill. Then it is a public bill. If any member of parliament other than minister is presenting a bill, then it is a private member bill. Now tell me, is there any exceptional circumstance where a private person, it means any person who is not actually member of a house, can this person actually present a particular bill in house? No. Some people actually misconstrued private means I'm not a member of house, I may be considered as private. No. When I use the word private member, it simply means a member of parliament who is not a minister. Okay. So this is on the basis of who actually introduces that bill. Okay. Second criteria is based on the content of the bill. What is there in the bill? Based on the matter. So first is ordinary bill, most common. Now, what is ordinary bill? Any bill which is not financial in nature or which is not talking about amending our constitution. Now that bill is considered as ordinary bill. Okay. Second is money bill. So what constitutes a money bill? It is defined in our constitution, Article 110. And who decides whether a bill is a money bill or not? This responsibility is solely in the hand of Lok Sabha Speaker. Please remember, Speaker Lok Sabha, no one else. Rajya Sabha Chairman, I'm not saying, okay, only Lok Sabha Speaker. You know why? Why only Lok Sabha Speaker? Because this bill can only be introduced in Lok Sabha. It is going to be presented in Rajya Sabha as well, but introduction, it means for the first time, it is presented only in Lok Sabha. Okay, we are going to discuss this in detail today also, because we are going to talk about categorization of these bills and how it is, what are the conditions associated with money bill. One question is actually asked. This is the important section here. Okay, then finance bills. Now remember, in general connotation, when I say finance, so finance means any matter which is related to taxation, revenue collection, right? So this seems to be finance bill, right? So what is the difference between money bill and finance bill then? My friends, when our constitution makers use this word finance bill, so they used in very technical sense. In general, money bill is also considered as finance bill. But when we divide the bills on the basis of what matter is there, in that sense, finance bill word is used only for those bills which are not money bill. It means there's a bill. And within this bill, there are, say, 50 points, 50 clauses. And out of these 50 clauses, you saw that around 10-15 clauses were related to taxation or revenue matters. Right? And you were a minister. You presented this bill before Speaker, sir. Please declare this as money bill. Because they please see, we have financial matters and tax matters in this bill. Now, Speaker might say, there are sections, but the whole bill is not about taxation or revenue. So I'm not declaring this as money bill. And this is complete authority in the hands of Lok Sabha Speaker. So if a speaker declares that I'm not considering this bill as money bill, then it will be regarded as finance bill. So which are also concerned with financial matter but are different from money bill. Okay. Now Constitution Amendment Bill, name itself is actually signifying it. A bill which proposes amendment. When I say amendment, what does it mean? It means you want to add something in constitution, you want to remove something from constitution, you want to alter language in our constitution. Then we call it Constitution Amendment Bill. Okay. So these are the four broad categories of bill on the basis of matter. And this categorization of bill is on the basis of who is introducing that bill. I hope this is clear. Now, public bill and private bill. Like I told you, the difference is there, right? Now, it is introduced in parliament by minister, told you. Private bill introduced by a member of parliament who is not a minister. This is for your quick revision. It reflects policies of the government. Okay, because minister is actually presenting this bill, right? It reflects a stand of opposition. Generally, private member bill are introduced by some member who is not part of ruling party, okay? It has greater chance to be approved in parliament. Why greater chance? Because in Lok Sabha, who is having majority? The ruling party, right? So it means ruling party will say, oh, our minister is proposing this bill, then okay, we have to give this bill a pass, right? They are going to use the whip. I told you about the whip in the previous session. Whip, a direction by the party through a person who is regarded as whip, that on this bill, these members, the BJP members or Congress members, whoever is the party we are talking about, then they need to get it passed. Then members are going to say, yes, we are passing it. We are supporting it. But when it comes to private member bill, it has lesser chance. Why? Because you need Vishesh Kripa. You need support of that party who is having more than 50% seat in Lok Sabha, right? That is why it is having lesser chance to get passed. Its rejection by the House amounts to expression of wants of parliamentary confidence. Consider, minister actually has introduced a bill, okay, on say Aadhaar, okay. They want to give some new status to Aadhaar, okay. Now it is introduced in Lok Sabha. Now it needs to be passed. But what we found, that it failed to get even simple majority. What does it signify? It signifies this minister and this ruling party is not having majority support in Lok Sabha. How it happened? So it means your confidence will be checked now. It can actually amount to resignation of the whole Council of Ministers, right? Because if this minister, this government is not able to pass their own bill, it means they are not having majority support. Now, when it comes to private member bill, its reaction by the House has no implication. These are opposition people, right? So, its introduction in the House requires 7 days notice. So, please remember this fact, because nowadays UPSC makes some statements on these basic facts, okay? 7 days notice, and here it requires 1 month notice. You have to give 1 month notice, then only you can introduce this bill. Okay, so which bill you think is having priority? Public bill is having priority in the eyes of House, right? Because only on 7 days notice you can introduce this bill. Now, it is drafted by the concerned department. For example, say Ministry of Home Affairs, they want to bring a certain bill, okay, for strengthening internal security of India. So they have the whole department for them, right? The officers there, legal consultants there, they are going to help this minister to actually draft this bill, okay? But what about private member? So private member is not a minister, he is not having department support. So drafting is the responsibility of the member concerned. You have to draft this bill on your own, okay? So this is the difference. I hope it is clear. Yes or no? Okay. Now, let's talk about these bills one by one. First, ordinary bill. Every ordinary bill has to pass through the following 5 stages in Parliament. This is first reading. So, introduction happened, gazette notification happened. Now, first reading is happening. Now, what happens in first reading? Just listen to me. If you're a minister, so you will stand up, you will be given time. So you will actually read out the title and the objective which you think is going to be solved through this particular bill. So it means first reading is brief in nature. Okay, it is brief. There will not be any elaboration there or too much elaboration there. There will not be any debate in first reading. Okay, then this particular matter, this bill is going to be referred to a select committee. Select committee means certain parliamentarians are given responsibility that you are part of this committee. Since this bill is related to your topic, now you need to discuss it on your own. You 6-7 people, you discuss it. It can save time of the House. For example, certain MPs, they are part of say a standing committee on coal and energy. Okay, so you got a news that India is having shortage of coal. Okay, and we are purchasing coal from any other country. And government is making some law with regard to leasing of coal mines in India. Now, in first reading, you need not to debate this bill. Okay, first 5-6 members who are, we think that they are provided with some legal assistant as well, legislative assistant as well. They are going to have this bill. They are going to discuss this bill within this committee. So then it is referred to select committee. Then comes the second reading. Now second reading is, this is the main thing. The main work happens here. Means after select committee has also given their judgment. So this is the concise report which we think these problems are going to solve by this bill. Now exhaustive debate happens in second reading. Debate. Okay. If other members wants to say, no, we want this amendment, we want this to be changed, we are not agreeing with this provision. So everything happened in this second reading. Then comes the third reading. Third reading is the final step. It means now we are going to decide, are we going to amend some provision here or not? Then voting is going to happen here. When voting is done, then after this third reading, the presiding officer of the house, for example, in case of Lok Sabha speaker, now speaker will actually issue a letter along with this document. Consider this is the document. Okay. So this is the bill. Along with this bill, there will be a letter attached by the Lok Sabha speaker, and Lok Sabha speaker is going to send this letter to Rajya Sabha in case of this bill being introduced in Lok Sabha. Now in case of Rajya Sabha chairman will receive this letter along with this document. Okay, now this bill need to be discussed in Rajya Sabha as well. Then Rajya Sabha is also going to have this 1, 2, 3 reading. When it is passed, then this bill is presented to Honorable President. When President gives assent, then this bill turns into an act. But what if things don't go the way these are mentioned here? What if Rajya Sabha, the second house, it says, I'm not agreeing with this bill? What is going to happen then? Even if Rajya Sabha agrees and this bill is sent to President and President is not signing that bill, what options President is having with respect to ordinary bill? So these questions should come in your mind, and let's discuss these questions as well. First reading. Now just read in detail so that you are clear with every point, because UPSC plays in detail, right? Devil is in detail, and we cannot leave any detail. Just read. An ordinary bill can be introduced in either house. Either house. Whether you can introduce in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. If it is introduced in Rajya Sabha, then Rajya Sabha will be considered as first house, first reading, second reading, third reading. Then Rajya Sabha chairman will paste a letter, sign and the copy, and send this bill to Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha will be considered as second house. Then first, second, third reading, and then it will be presented to Honorable President. Right? The member who wants to introduce the bill, or the bill can be introduced either by minister or any other member. Okay? Why I am highlighting on these specifics? Because in other cases, in other bills, if we twist these specifics, then UPSC can ask you by twisting these specifics, okay, now tell me the statement is true or false. Because we are talking about ordinary bill, first reading. What if in case of money bill, they make the statement, money bill can be introduced by minister or any other member, means private member. So now you should be clear. First reading of ordinary bill is being discussed, not money bill. Okay? And everything in polity is having a sound logic. Just understand the logic. Just grab the essence of Indian polity, and then everything is like cakewalk. Everything is logically connected. It is not like cramming only. Okay, there's a purpose behind it. Why things are planned in this manner. The member who wants to introduce the bill has to ask for the leave of the house. Now, leave is not that I'm going on leave. It is like permission. When the house grants the leave to introduce the bill, the mover of the bill introduced by reading the title and objective. Told you in first reading what you need to do, title and objective. No discussion means what we are reading is already being told to you. Okay, this is just to settle these things in your mind. No discussion on the bill takes place at this stage. Later, the bill is published in Gazette of India. If the bill is published in Gazette before its introduction, it can also be a case. Before introduction, this bill was actually introduced in Gazette. Now, some of you might think, sir, how this can happen? If it is not introduced, how is it published in Gazette? What happens? Sometimes Lok Sabha Speaker has not given, there are so many bills pending, so not given enough time to actually, slot to introduce that bill. Okay, that bill is ready with the government, so government want to circulate it so that other suggestions can also come. In that case, it can be introduced before introduction of the bill as well. Okay, the bill is published in Gazette of India, so leave of the House to introduce the bill is not necessary. Now, these are the facts on which UPSC can play. Okay, if it is already, you can say published in Gazette, then you not permission of House. You don't need permission of House to introduce the bill in that House, whether Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, because we are talking about either House. The introduction of the bill and its publication in the Gazette constitute the first reading of the House. Means introduction of the bill, its publication in the Gazette. These both are considered under first reading. Okay. Now, second reading. I told you this is the most important one where discussion elaboration happens. Detailed scrutiny assumes its final shape. Okay, detailed scrutiny. Now, with the second reading, we have three stages, three sub-stages. First, a stage of general discussion. Committee stage, because this bill has been referred to a select committee, and then committee is discussing it, then committee is going to present its own views. Now consideration stage. So it means general discussion happened, committees went into specifics, then committee gave report, and then consideration stage. Okay, that now this bill is going to be presented before the whole House. Now the third reading. At this stage, the debate is confined to acceptance or rejection. I told you third reading is like voting stage, whether you want to accept it or reject it. Of the whole, no amendments are allowed. No amendments are allowed in this third stage. Why? Because if you want any amendment, then when you are doing detailed scrutiny and then you were talking about final shape in second reading, you should have added it there, right? If the majority of members present in voting accepts, what does it mean? We are talking about ordinary bill, and in case of ordinary bill, you need simple majority to get the bill passed, either from Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Okay. Thereafter, the bill is authenticated by the presiding officer. As I told you, the presiding officer is going to paste a letter of the House, transmitted to the second House that, this is passed from my House, now onus is on you. Ball is in your court now. A bill is deemed to have been passed by the Parliament only when both the Houses agreed to it, either with or without amendment. I mean, both should actually agree. Then it is going to be passed by both Houses. Bill in the second House. When it goes to second House, as I told you, bill passes through all three stages. Same. Title, objective. Second stage, what was happening in second stage? Tell me. Exhaustive discussion, final shape, scrutiny, right? Three sub-stages, committee, consideration, right? General discussion. I hope it is clear to you. It should be, remembered by you until now. Okay. Now, when three readings have happened, now what are the alternatives with this House? Is it mandatory for this House to accept it? No. It may pass the bill as sent by the first House. The way they have sent the bill, it can pass it. I am agree. Second choice is, they may pass the bill, but with certain amendment, that we want these changes. Now, if Lok Sabha is the first House, they have introduced the bill and they have cleared the bill and it is sent to Rajya Sabha, and Rajya Sabha has said, no, we need certain amendment. So now, after you have proposed amendment, it is not like you can directly jump onto the stage of president, because you have made certain changes in the House, changes in the bill, which are not agreed upon by Lok Sabha, right? So both Houses should agree on a particular format of a bill, then only it can be presented to Honorable President. Please remember it. Both Houses should agree on a particular format of the bill, means content of the bill, then it is going to be presented before Honorable President. Okay. Now, if you have proposed amendment, it means now you need to send this bill back to the Lok Sabha, okay, and return it to the first House. If you are not agreeing with, then return it to the first House. Third option is it may reject the bill. It may say, no, I'm not passing this bill. So this can also be done by Rajya Sabha in case of ordinary bill. It may not take any action, no action. We have not said yes, we have not amended, we have not said even no, we are not doing anything. So here you are having yes, here you are doing some amendment, here you are saying no, and here you are not doing anything. So these are the four options with the second house. Okay, second house means if it is introduced in Lok Sabha and coming to Rajya Sabha, then Rajya Sabha is second house. If it is introduced in Rajya Sabha, coming to Lok Sabha, then Lok Sabha is the second house. Lok Sabha can also have these four options. Okay. Now conditions. If the second house passes the bill without any amendment, the first case means yes case. The first house accepts the amendment suggested by the second house. The bill is deemed to have been passed by both the houses. If you accept it the way it is, it means you have passed it and it is sent to President for his assent. If the first house rejects its amendments, consider Rajya Sabha made certain amendment, send this back to Lok Sabha, first house, but Lok Sabha is saying, I am not agreeing with the amendments you have said. I am not agreeing. This is not fine. This is cheating. You should have agreed. So what is going to happen? Now the second house rejects the bill altogether, or second house does not take any action for 6 months. There can be a situation of deadlock. Rajya Sabha made certain amendment to a bill which was proposed by Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha saying, I'm not agreeing with the amendment. So it means both the houses are not in consensus. This can be a situation of deadlock if this pursue for 6 months. For 6 months, nothing happened on this bill. In this case, President has one power. President can summon a joint sitting. Means, what happens if there is conflict? If the consensus is not arrived, both parties need to sit together. This is exactly President do. So we call it joint sitting. Joint sitting is presided by the Speaker of Lok Sabha. Now tell me, who has more members in House? Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha? Lok Sabha. Right? And why Rajya Sabha chairman was not given this power to preside joint sitting? Because Rajya Sabha chairperson is not a member of any house, whether Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. He is an ex officio position. It's an ex officio position. Right? Whoever is vice president is chairman of Rajya Sabha. So Speaker of Lok Sabha is going to preside. Now tell me, if Lok Sabha is a number and you have to discuss it and then get this bill passed, now tell me, who is going to actually win? Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, if we talk about numerical strength? Lok Sabha, obviously. 543, 250 maximum. This is a huge difference. Right? So that is why it is said that more power is in the hands of Lok Sabha. Because even if joint sitting happens, then Lok Sabha, due to its more numerical strength, they can actually pass this bill. To resolve such deadlock, President summoned the joint sitting. Please remember, joint sitting is summoned by President. The majority of members present in voting, joint sitting approves the bill and the bill is deemed to be passed by both houses. Then it is presented before Honorable President for its assent. Clear? Now comes the time of, say, chance of Honorable President. What President can do? Give assent, agree that okay, I'm agreeing on this bill. Withhold his assent. Rejecting it means may return the bill for reconsideration, that I am attaching some advice. Now just consider my advice. So this can also be done by Honorable President. But you also know that if House passes this bill again, may accept President's recommendation or may not accept President's recommendation, this time when this bill is again presented before Honorable President, now President is bound to give assent. Okay, I hope you remember I discussed this in President chapter with you in veto, suspensive veto, and it can be applied for one time, right? Means you can send the bill back for reconsideration once. Told you about 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Polity should actually come in your mind like this. It is interlinked. Okay, you should not read it in silos. Ki haan, this was covered there and now we are in different topic. No, you should recall. If the President gives assent to the bill, then bill becomes an act. Job done. Congratulations. Now, if the president withholds his assent, it ends and does not become an act. I also told you the situation when it can happen. In case of private member bill, Council of Ministers can advise to Honorable President, sir, though this bill got passed from Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, we were supporting this bill earlier as well in Lok Sabha, but now we are suggesting you just withhold this bill. President can reject that bill. In case of government bill, public bill, what can happen? It was passed from Lok Sabha, then Rajya Sabha, presented before Honorable President, but now that Lok Sabha got dissolved, new elections happened, fresh elections, and now new government, new parties there, and now new Prime Minister saying, oh, this bill was actually bill belonging to the previous Prime Minister, previous government. Now, Honorable President just reject this bill. So this rejection can happen, withhold can happen. Okay? If President returned the bill for reconsideration, passed by both the houses again with or without amendment, presented to the President for his assent, President must give assent to the bill. I told you also. President enjoys the power of suspensive veto. It is applied once, means you send this for reconsideration once. Now, money bill, Article 110. Now, what is money bill? Anything, any bill which is having some provisions of money is money bill. Is it the case? No. We need to be specific. Money bill is mentioned in Article 110. So, what the conditions are? Any bill which is talking about imposition, abolition, remission, alteration, regulation of any tax. This is one condition. Means you are adding some tax, you are removing some tax, you are altering some tax, you are regulating some tax. Earlier this tax collection, tax decision power was this body, say GST Council, now you want to transfer this power in the hands of PM or Prime Minister office. So you have to actually consider this bill, present this bill before speaker to actually declare this bill as money bill, because this particular provision is mentioned in Article 110. Okay. So one is tax. Just remember tax. Okay. Second is credit. It means if a bill is having provisions with respect to government asking permission for taking more credit, loan, the regulation of borrowing of money by the union government. Okay. It means credit. Just remember the keywords. Now third, expenditure. The custody of consulate fund, contingency fund, the payment of monies into or withdrawal of money from any such. Please remember, payment of money into. If you want to make a provision that now we want this additional stream of revenue also getting deposited in consolidated fund of India, so it need to be passed via bill. You need to make an act. If you want to draw some additional money from Consulate Fund of India, you need permission of Parliament. It means you need to propose a money bill. Right? You need to introduce this bill. Appropriation of money out of Consulate. Appropriation means seeking permission of Parliament that we have this expenditure. We are giving you the details as well. Allow us to spend this from Consolidated Fund of India. Okay, so what you got now, when it comes to Consolidated Fund of India, the biggest fund, largest fund, government is not totally independent. There's a check and balance mechanism. Executive is accountable to legislature. You need to get it passed from legislature. Don't you think it's a good thing? Otherwise, government can actually do anything. At least there's a check there. Declaration of any expenditure charged on Consulate Fund of India. Now charged on CFI. What does it mean? When I say charged on Consulate Fund of India, it simply means consider that you are Attorney General. Say you are CJI, Chief Justice of India. Okay. So your salary is charged on Consulate Fund of India. Okay. It means that when bill is going to be introduced next time, say annual financial statement, budget. So expenditures which are declared as charged expenditure on CFI, Consulate Fund of India, you need not to vote on these expenditures again and again. These are safe and secure. These are high priority expenditure. These expenditures need to be done anyhow. Okay. So if you are declaring some expenditure which was actually used to, we used to discuss and debate and then vote. Now you want to elevate its status as charged, then you need to present this as a money bill. Okay. Receipt of money on account of Consolidated Fund of India, public account. I told you in one of my class that when I say government funds, we can categorize into three parts: consolidated fund, contingency fund, public account. Consolidated. What the word consolidate means? Means consolidate, means you are collecting. So the profits of government from various PSUs, right? Tax revenues, all of them come under consolidated fund. Contingency, what this word represents? Means certain emergency. So this is like contingency fund under President of India. On behalf of Honorable President, Finance Secretary manages this fund. It is having 200 crores. Okay, if a certain ministry was given certain budget, but due to some urgency, they need additional budget. So now contingency fund approval can be done. Third is public account. The word itself represents public account. It is your account. It means you invest in small saving schemes. If you're working and every month PF, certain provident fund is being deducted from your salary, where it is going? It is going in public account. EPFO, Employee Provident Fund SC organization, is actually managing this fund. So this is public account. So if you want to make some certain changes, how receipts are going to be taken in these funds, then this particular criteria can also be regarded as money bill. Now, the nature of question which is going to be asked. Please remember, my friends, generally people remember 2-3 points with regard to money bill, and they often forget charge, CFI and receipt. Okay, so please remember these keywords, and now you are not going to commit any mistake when it comes to what are the criteria mentioned in Article 110 to actually declare a bill as money bill, although this authority is with Speaker. A money bill can be questioned whether bill is money bill or not in which court of law? Now attempt this question. In front of President, in Supreme Court, in Lok Sabha itself by presiding officer. It seems like a direct question, okay, but there's a trick here. I told you whether a bill is money bill or not, it is actually declared by Lok Sabha Speaker. I think this is clear to you. Consider a bill is already declared by Speaker as money bill. Now, some people want to question it. How this is a money bill? How this is a money bill? Right? So now where it can be questioned? So law says that it cannot be questioned anywhere. Here the third option is saying in Lok Sabha itself by presiding officer. No. If Lok Sabha Speaker has decided it, it is not like now you are going to put a question and Speaker would say, oh, I might have committed mistake. Let me check again. No, this is not going to happen. And the word presiding officer is there. Presiding officer can be Deputy Speaker also. So Speaker is ill and Deputy Speaker is in chair and you are putting this question on Deputy Speaker. Dais that, sir, the speakers have declared this as bill as money bill. So you are member of opposition and you are saying, sir, please actually review this and declare this bill as ordinary bill or say finance bill. No, Deputy Speaker cannot do. Presiding officer cannot do. Once Speaker has done it, done, close. So this rule says that. Okay. So if any question arises whether bill or money bill or not, the decision of Speaker of the Lok Sabha is final. Okay. His decision in this regard cannot be questioned in any court of law in either House of Parliament or even the President. In either House of Parliament, you cannot question in House of Parliament as well. You cannot discuss, debate. So this is privilege. Now on this point, I want you to read about an interesting debate. When Ms. Sumitra Mahajan was Lok Sabha Speaker and a bill was presented regarding UIDAI. I'm talking about Aadhaar bill. It was, there was controversy around this bill. Opposition members were saying this bill is having certain provisions which are not in nature of money bill. But yet a speaker, due to some political affiliations with BJP, it was declared as money bill. So there was a discussion, debate. So you need to check about what Supreme Court said with regard to Aadhaar bill. What is the update now? Okay, and tell me in comments so that I can also know that you are taking benefit of these classes. Okay. Now, after a money bill is passed by the Lok Sabha, it is transmitted to Rajya Sabha for reconsideration. Remember, in case of money bill, it can be introduced only in Lok Sabha, not in Rajya Sabha. I'm talking about introduced. Introduced. Okay. Now, why? So, for why, you should know that actually money bill is talking about tax, credit. So, if you just take a look over the nature of provisions in Article 110, they deal with government function. Because government wants more money, they want to change tax. Government want more money because there's urgency. They need to pay for certain development work. They need to pay salaries, and there's some urgency. They want to borrow. So, that is why, because government is there, because government is, this particular party is having majority in Lok Sabha, right? So that is why, number one, this bill is actually introduced only in Lok Sabha. Okay. Now it is, after it is passed from Lok Sabha and it is presented to Rajya Sabha, so Rajya Sabha has restricted powers with regard to money bill. What is restricted power? Rajya Sabha can hold this bill for maximum 14 days. 14 days. It cannot reject or amend a money bill. It can only make recommendation. It cannot reject or amend. Please remember, there can be a question from here. And why? You should question why. The reason is, if Rajya Sabha is given equal power, like Rajya Sabha can stall a bill, like Rajya Sabha stalled this ordinary bill for 6 months, and then you have to wait for joint sitting. You cannot wait for joint sitting. Money is such an important matter for government. Government work will stop. And that is why Rajya Sabha's power is, you can say, quite less in comparison to Lok Sabha when it comes to money bill. Okay. It must return the bill to Lok Sabha within 14 days, whether with or without recommendation. Even if you are given recommendation, then it is up to Lok Sabha whether they want to accept a recommendation or not. The Lok Sabha can either accept or reject all or any of the recommendation of the Rajya Sabha. Okay. So I hope you got the status of Rajya Sabha with respect to money bill. Now conditions. If Lok Sabha accepts any recommendation in money bill, means Rajya Sabha said, although we know that we have less power, but we have some genuine recommendation. You need to improve this money bill. So if Lok Sabha says, oh, yeah, this recommendation sounds good, we are accepting this recommendation, the bill is then deemed to have passed by both houses. If you have accepted the recommendation, then it means it is passed from both houses, then presented before Honorable President. In case you have not accepted a recommendation, still, the bill is deemed to have been passed by both houses, because ultimate power is in the hands of Lok Sabha. If Rajya Sabha does not return the bill to the Lok Sabha within 14 days, then it is deemed to have passed. So whether you say yes, no, or you stall, you only have maximum 14 days to actually stop this bill. Then it is presented before Honorable President. When Honorable President signs this bill, then it turns into an act. On the other hand, both the houses have equal power in case of ordinary bill, but both the houses have unequal power in case of money bill. And I also gave you the the reason, means why. I think it is clear now. Finally, when a money bill is presented to the President, he may either give his assent to the bill or withhold his assent to the bill, but cannot return the bill for reconsideration. This is mentioned in Article 110. Means you can say yes, no, but you cannot say suspensive veto, you cannot use. Because this money bill was introduced by prior recommendation of Honorable President. Means a concerned minister presented this bill before Speaker, Madam Speaker, or Honorable Sir Speaker, declared this bill as money bill. Sir declared, oh, this bill is money bill. Now you took that bill and went to President. Sir, this is money bill. And Article 110 says, before I introduce this bill in Lok Sabha, I need your recommendation. President says, okay, I paste this letter, I sign this, you have recommendation. Now introduce in Lok Sabha. So this is how things work here. Normally the President gives his assent to the money bill as it is introduced in Parliament with his prior permission. I hope now it is clear. It should be ultra clear. Now what we have discussed until now, honorable money bill, so this differentiation is given in this table. at this point of time, just pause this video, open your Lakshmikant, just see this table and just read this table. So this is our discussion is concised here. I hope you have read. Now let's continue. Finance bill. Told you, bill which are not declared as money bill, then they are categorized as finance bill. In finance bill, we have two types, class 1, class 2. Let's understand what is the difference in a very simple manner. Finance bills are those bills that deal with fiscal matters. The word fiscal, what does it mean? Fiscal has two meanings, two components. One, what tax you want to impose so that you can earn revenue. And second, expenditure, where, how you have to spend this money. So tax policy, expenditure policy is part of fiscal policy, right? That revenue or expenditure, revenue coming from tax, profits. However, the Constitution uses the term financial bill in a technical manner. Financial bill are of three kinds in general, but technical manner, finance bill class 1, finance bill class 2 are different from money bill. 110 articles talks about money bill. 117 clause 1, 117 clause 3 talk about finance bill, class 1, class 2. So just remember 110 and 117. 117 we have two finance bills. Finance bill class 1, how we can actually, you can say, explain it. Contain not only any all matters mentioned in article 110. For example, this was a bill and this bill was having 100 clauses. Out of these 100 clauses, around 20 clauses were related to some tax. But now 80 clauses were general in nature. They were making certain they were actually helping in making some law, but that was generic in nature. So a financial bill class 1 is a bill that contains not only any or all the matters mentioned in article 110. I hope now the statement should be clear to you. Not only any or all means you are having only, means out of 100 you are having this 20 provisions related to article 110. And it may be possible the provisions which we talked about, tax, credit, receipt, right, charge on consulate fund. So we can consider that within this 20 you have all the provisions as well, but also other matters of general legislation. These 80 matters, you have other matters also of general legislation. So it means there's a mix here. There is a mix here, right? So in this case, speaker can say, no, I'm not declaring this bill as money bill. So finance bill class 1 is similar to money bill in what way? Both of them can be introduced only in Lok Sabha and not in Rajya Sabha. When we are saying can be introduced only in Lok Sabha, it means it cannot be introduced in Rajya Sabha. It will be present in Rajya Sabha, but not introduced. Both of them can be introduced only on the recommendation of President. So Lok Sabha introduction, President prior recommendation, these things are same. In all other aspects, this finance bill class 1 actually works as, get passed as ordinary bill. Government by the same legislative process as ordinary bill. Now, I have just discussed till this point, and now I'm asking some questions from you, okay? And you have to answer from your own understanding, even if you have not read it. Now tell me, can, in case of finance bill class 1, joint sitting can be summoned by Honorable President if there is a deadlock condition? Now tell me, the statement is true or false? I'm saying, consider this finance bill was introduced in Lok Sabha. It was introduced in Lok Sabha. Then it was presented in Rajya Sabha. It was discussed there. But Rajya Sabha is not agreeing on this bill. And it has been more than 6 months. Now tell me, can President call joint sitting in case of finance bill class 1? Because I told you in case of money bill, there is no point of joint sitting because joint sitting happens to resolve the deadlock. But can there be a deadlock in case of money bill? No. Because Rajya Sabha can actually stall that bill for maximum 14 days. So why you need joint sitting in case of money bill? The status of Rajya Sabha is quite low in case of money bill, right? Now tell me, can there be joint sitting here? Yes or no? Answer is yes, because I just told you in all other respects, it acts as an ordinary bill, and in case of ordinary bill, there can be a deadlock, and there can be a deadlock, there can be a joint sitting. Okay, I hope now it is clear to you. Hence, it can either be rejected or amended by the Rajya Sabha, because it is acting as an ordinary bill. But in case of money bill, Rajya Sabha cannot reject, Rajya Sabha cannot amend, Rajya Sabha can only recommend. Okay. Now, in case of a disagreement between the two houses, President can summon joint sitting, already told you. Question has been asked by UPSC many times on this statement. When the bill is presented to the President, he can either give his assent to the bill or withhold his assent to the bill or return the bill for reconsideration. This means the third power, suspensive veto, which is not available before to Honorable President in case of money bill, is there in case of finance bill class 1, because it is acting like an ordinary bill in all other respects, just in two respects. Introduced in Lok Sabha and presented by prior recommendation of President, it was equal to money bill. Right? Now, finance bill class 2. Now, just remember, mix is going on here also. But here, the clauses, means out of 100 when we are talking about 20, these clauses are related to expenditure policy. Expenditure, kharch karna. You are talking, this government wants to actually spend some amount in particular category. Contains provisions involving expenditure from the Constituent Fund of India, but does not include any of the matters mentioned in Article 110. Other matters are not there, and they are matters of general, you can say, connotation. It is treated as ordinary bill, and in all respects, it is governed by same legislative procedure which is applicable to any ordinary bill. The only special feature of this bill is that it cannot be passed by either House of Parliament unless President has recommended to that house for consideration of the bill. This detail you need to know. Expenditure, treated as ordinary bill. Finance bill class 2 can be introduced in either House of Parliament, and recommendation of the President is not necessary for introduction. Introduction, you need not to have permission. This is the difference between finance bill class 1 and class 2. It can either be rejected, and yeah, this is another important, either house. In case of finance bill class 1, I told you, it is equal to money bill in two respects. Can be introduced in Lok Sabha on prior recommendation of President. But in case of finance bill class 2, it can be introduced in either houses. Either house. Okay, Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. In case of disagreement between the two houses over such a bill, President can summon joint sitting. In all other aspects, it is acting like an ordinary bill. When the bill is presented to the President can use all three steps: accept, withhold, reject, or use suspensive veto. I think it is clear to you now. Yes or no? Joint sitting of the two houses. Told you joint sitting. Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, members are going to sit together. Sitting is going to be presided by Speaker. This particular joint sitting is summoned by Honorable President. President summons joint sitting on the recommendation of Council of Ministers. When bill is rejected by other house, the house have finally disagreed to the amendment. So these are the cases when we can say our deadlock condition is there. Or more than 6 months are passed and the second house has not done anything on that bill. So if you reject, if you amend, which is not, amendments are not agreed by the other house, and more than 6 months have passed and you have done nothing. In this case, joint sitting can be called and President summons the joint sitting. Now, it must be noted that joint sitting is applicable in case of ordinary bill and finance bills. Please remember it. Important statement is this, right? In case of money bill, you don't need joint sitting, right? And what was the other type of bill I told you in the start of this lecture? Constitution Amendment Bill. In Constitution Amendment Bill, there is no case of joint sitting. And think of why. Don't just cram it. Ratna nahi hai. Why? My friends, the reason is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, if they come into joint sitting, Lok Sabha has more strength. If in case of constitutional amendment, which is a very crucial matter, if joint sitting provisions would have been given by our constitution makers, then it would have given unnecessary, you can say extra power to the ruling government. Because Lok Sabha, they have majority. That's why they are having government. So they could have amended our constitution in a manner they want. Although Supreme Court is there. But this is like giving extra power. We want to balance their power. Constitutional amendment should not be that easy. And that is why equal powers are given in case of constitutional amendment to Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Okay? And now, please remember, joint sitting can happen in case of ordinary bill, finance bills. Clear? Okay? Now, in case of money bill, the Lok Sabha has overriding powers. Already told you, constitutional amendment bill must be passed by each house separately. Right? Important, I have already explained this to you. In the reckoning period of 6 months, no account can be taken by any period. Now, when I'm saying joint sitting happens when 6 months have been passed and other house has not done anything. So how these 6 months are calculated? How these days are calculated? Right? So now, any period during which other house to which the bill has been sent is prorogued or adjourned for more than 4 consecutive days. It means when you're counting this six months tenure, so you're counting the working. You're counting the days for which house was functioning. And if it was not functioning, means it was adjourned for more than 4 days, or it was recess going on. So recess period and the period when this was adjourned for more than 4 days, this is not counted there. Okay, this is a bit of detail, but no one knows. UPSC can play on this detail as well. Because general notion which comes into mind is, oh, general 6 months, January, February, March, April, May, right? But this is not the case here. If the bill under dispute has already lapsed, now this is a beautiful statement. And it amounts to, to your understanding of the logic. Lapse. Consider the bill was presented from, introduced in Lok Sabha, get passed from Rajya Sabha, presented before Honorable President, and it get passed. But there's another case, it was actually passed by Lok Sabha, introduced in Lok Sabha, passed by Lok Sabha, presented to Rajya Sabha, and Rajya Sabha has not done anything. 6 months have passed. And now President has actually called for joint sitting. And now Lok Sabha got lapsed. Now, what is going to happen with this bill? This bill is going to lapse or not? No, this bill is not going to be lapsed. I told you in the previous lecture, in the cases of lapse, what is going to be the impact on bill if Lok Sabha dissolves. I told you in that particular video that because President has already declared notification of summoning. It means President's security is being provided to the this particular bill. So bill is not going to lapse. When new Lok Sabha is going to be reconstituted after fresh election, now this new Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, they are going to have joint sitting. Okay. So already lapsed due to the dissolution of the Lok Sabha, no joint sitting can be summoned. If the bill under dispute has already lapsed, means if the notification has not been released, then it will lapse. But the joint sitting can be held if Lok Sabha is dissolved after the President has notified his intention. If President has notified intention, now bill is secure. If President has not notified its intention, then bill can lapse. Because bill has not touched Honorable President. I told you this trick in my previous video. After the President notifies his intention to summon joint sitting of the two houses, none of the houses can proceed further with the bill. Right? The quorum to constitute the joint sitting is 1/10 of the total numbers. Total number means Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha. Budget in Parliament. In our constitution, budget word is not mentioned. In its place, under Article 112, annual financial statement word is used. Okay. So what contains in budget? Estimate of revenue and capital receipt. What you are going to receive as revenue and capital receipt. Okay. Ways and means to raise the revenue, how you are going to raise the revenue. Estimates of expenditure, how you are going to spend. Details of the actual receipt and expenditure of the closing financial year. Means in previous year also, in previous budget also, you have predicted this much revenue we are going to have, this much expenditure we are going to do. But in budget, you have to give the details. What are the actual figures? Economic and financial policy of the coming year, the taxation proposals, prospects of revenue, spending program, introduction of the new schemes, project, everything. These points are actually part of annual financial statement, which in general term we call budget. This budget word actually was taken from a word baguette, which is a French word, which is actually was used for a leather bag. Okay, because earlier in many parts of the world, the budget used to be released. The person, or you can say minister concerned, or in some nations, prime minister or president themselves, they used to bring this budget in a leather bag. But you must have seen in our last budget, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman actually brought this budget in pothi, that is Indianized version of folder. Now railway budget was separate earlier, but now it is part of union budget. General budget in 1920, recommendation of Ackworth Committee. On the recommendation of Ackworth Committee, it was separated. Bringing you this because this is a fact. The reason or objective of this separation was that railway finance should be flexible. Railway was and is the biggest PSU of Government of India. To facilitate business approach of the railway policy, to secure stability of general revenue, providing assured contribution of railway revenue. But now we have so many forms of transportations, right? We are not just dependent on railways, although railway is the biggest one. To enable railways to keep profits of their own development and paying fixed annual contribution to the general revenue. So this was the purpose of having separate railway budget, but we don't have separate railway budget as of now. Constitutional provisions. President shall, in respect of every financial year, cause to be laid before. Simply saying, actually budget is introduced in Lok Sabha with prior recommendation of Honorable President. Okay, so what happens? For example, budget is proposed on first, means introduced in Lok Sabha on 1st February every year nowadays, right? Earlier it used to be on the last working day of February, but Modi ji changed it to 1st Feb. But the budget making process actually start way back in September, okay? So every department, ministry, they start sending their proposals. This much we have spent, this much we want, to the finance ministry. Within finance ministry, there's a department of economic affairs, okay? So this department is responsible for preparing union budget. So when this Department of Economic Affairs actually consolidate all the data, then they have a meeting in finance ministry under the leadership of finance secretary, which is the topmost bureaucrat in finance ministry. Now they make a blueprint, okay, of the budget. We call it blue sheet. Now finance minister along with finance secretary, they actually take a meeting, take an appointment with PMO, means Prime Minister office. Then they visit PMO, they meet Prime Minister and present this blue sheet. So this is the rough draft of a budget. If you want to add something, remove something, please give a suggestion. When Prime Minister would say, okay, this is fine, this is addition, and then the following suggestions are taken, and then they will come back into the finance ministry and they will have meeting, and within that meeting they're going to finalize, refine this blueprint. And after that there's a team which is actually made, okay? Then these team members are told that you are part of that the team who is going to be responsible for making union budget, okay? They're given a date as well, that on this date you have to come, and after that they are actually logged into a basement in North Block for more than 10-15 days. Yes, they are locked, but you should not think that it's like a jail. All the facilities, eating and residential and everything is there, printing, everything, medication, cook, everything is there, because you are part of this team for making union budget. And there's high quality jammers are there, means you cannot actually communicate with your family, you cannot communicate with anyone in the outside world, because if you leak any information what is going to be there in budget, then there will be ramification in such share market. Many people can actually shift their investment, right? So then a copy is released, then these draft copies are released, then this budget is introduced. When this draft copy is released, then finance minister actually takes this draft copy to Honorable President. Sir, this is our draft copy, please give me permission to present this in Lok Sabha. President says, okay, my kripa is with you, I've signed this. Then finance minister take this to cabinet, that this is going to be our government budget. I want support of all my colleagues in cabinet. Then cabinet ministers will say, okay, we are with you. Then they have this photo with cabinet ministers and prime ministers also there. Then finance minister, enter into Lok Sabha, and this first reading happens, means title, objective of the bill. So this process is there. Then it is passed from Lok Sabha, then Rajya Sabha. No demand for grant shall be made except for recommendation of the president. Because in budget, you are saying from constituent fund you want this amount. This is part of budget, right? So this is done on the recommendation of president. If even after budget, if you want some additional fund, you need a bill which is actually getting permission from Honorable President. No money bill shall be withdrawn from the Constituent Fund of India. No money shall be withdrawn except under appropriation made by law. Means you need permission of Lok Sabha. You need to tell in which account where you are going to spend this money. No money bill imposing tax shall be introduced in the parliament except on the recommendation of president, and such a bill shall not be introduced in the Rajya Sabha. Money bill is not introduced in Rajya Sabha. That is obvious to you now. Now attempt this question. Which one of the following sets of bills is presented to Parliament along with the budget? Along with the budget. Set of bills along with the budget. Direct tax bill, indirect tax bill, contingency bill, appropriation bill, finance bill, appropriation bill, finance bill, contingency bill. There's nothing like contingency bill, my friend, that is contingency fund. Okay. And direct tax bill and indirect tax bill, these are separate things. If you want to bring certain changes in indirect taxes, then we use it, we call it indirect tax. Okay. Answer is finance bill, appropriation bill. Which one is not true regarding the bill in Parliament? The legislative process begins with introduction of a bill in either House of Parliament, Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, exception money bill. Question is asking not true. A bill can be introduced either by minister or private member, told you, public bill, private bill. In case of deadlock between the two houses, Speaker of the Lok Sabha calls the joint session of the Parliament. Don't you think it is a sin to agree on this fact? It is a sin, my friend, because I've already told you that president is the one who is going to call up, summon the joint session. Just remember this as a trick. Session of Parliament is summoned only by Honorable President. Only by Honorable President. Whether it's a normal session or joint session. Joint session, so you have to say not true. So this is not true. This is the answer. A joint session of the two houses presided by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, you know, this is also correct. So these three statements are correct. This is incorrect. Not true is what you want to say. So I think now this part is quite clear to you. You can tell me in comments as well. This PDF is going to be available in Shashank Tyagi for you Telegram group. If you have any doubt, you can shoot me a message on shashank.powerbeing. That is my personal Insta handle. Keep learning, keep growing.
StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।